In this part 2 video of making a hollow globe series, I'm showing you how to turn the finial cap and the bottom finial that some people refer to as an icicle. Turning these delicate and beautiful finials can be a challenge, but they can also be a great source of satisfaction. I'd say if you primarily turn bowls, hey, maybe it's time to get out of a rut and try something different. Christmas is coming. If you missed a link to that earlier video, it'll be at the end of this video and also in the video description. Alright, what kind of wood do we need? Well, you know, if you've got a piece of ebony, that's great, but expensive exotic woods are not necessary because we've got some fine domestic woods. It could be a piece of holly, could be a piece of dogwood, could be a piece of Bradford pear, could be a piece of hard maple. I don't have as good a luck with the red maple and silver maple that we have here in the south, but hard maples work just great. You want a piece about 1 inch square and at least 5 inches long to work from. It's got to be wide enough that it's going to cover the size hole that we've got in the ornament. Whatever wood you choose for your finials and finial caps, you want it to be tight grained and straight without any voids or knots. So we're going to chuck up a piece of holly and round it between centers. Speed about 2,000 RPM. Drop the tool, anchor the handle, anchor the tool, ride the bevel, no cutting, lift the handle till it cuts. Now we're going to put a tenon on it to fit in our collet chuck. Make it about 3/4 of an inch long. My collet chuck with extra collets, because all I have to do, I don't have to worry about getting this to close to a 1/16 of an inch fit. I just get it under 3/4 of an inch and find the collet that fits. With the collet chuck, you only need to get about within 1/16 of an inch, so you press the collet in until it snaps and then thread it on. Put in your piece, tighten it down, and you're ready to go. Collet chuck's my preference for doing small round pieces, but you do have options. Any chuck with smaller jaws that will hold a spigot or a tenon, such as these spigot jaws, will work fine. If you don't have small jaws, don't let that stop you. Turn your glue block that'll fit into your normal jaws, drill a hole in it, put a tenon and glue your finial blank inside, or you can turn one with a tenon that matches a hole drilled into a scrap, cut out a slot here, and you got you a collet chuck that your jaws can clamp on and hold it fairly tight. It's not as tight as metal, but it'll get the job done with tailstock support most of the time. So we're going to turn the tenon on the finial cap while we got it long here, and we're going to size this to fit the globe we're going to be using, which in this particular case is going to be 5/8 of an inch. So let's just turn that tenon down. And we're going to use a wrench as a go, no-go gauge. So I size this tenon to fit the globe. In this case it's going to be 5/8, and that fits good. And we're going to finish shaping this before we part it off to. We're going to shape the bottom, let's put it that way, and then we're going to rechuck it to finish the top. So we're going to start by taking this down. It's a little bit heavy. Now, the shape of this, I'm going to shape this at a 45 degrees, so it'll give us a nice shadow line. I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. So I'm going to come in here at about 45 degrees. Now let's see what that's going to look like. So you can see with this 45 degrees, we don't have to worry about getting it flush up against here, and this will look nice. It's a bit wider than I need here, so I'm going to take this down just a little bit, take this down this direction, and we're going to part it off, rechuck it, and finish it. And that gives us the shape we want. Now I'm going to go ahead and take off a little more this wood. Now let's part this off. Now I think I can back off tailstock support. But I'm going to brace this just a little bit. Okay, now we'll work on that. I'm using a 3/8 inch detail spindle gouge. And you got to feel comfortable working close to the chuck. That's why we want to get as much of that bottom done before we mount it. So I can come in here. Bit of a sphere here on top. In the video description, you'll occasionally see links to products I use or mention in the video. Some of those are Amazon affiliate links. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases made through those links. It doesn't affect your price, and once you use one of these links, any eligible purchases you make during that visit may apply. Alright, now we're going to make a fold here. I'd like to get in there a little bit tighter. I'm just going to see if I can't get in there with a round skew. A little 1/4 inch. Nice crisp detail. And the bottom of this sphere. Yes, I like that. And now we're going to just put just a little bit of a starter hole with a screw eye. Whoop, didn't quite get it. Okay, I'll stop it out of the way. Let's speed down a little bit. We're just going to use the pin vise to drill a hole for the screw eye. That's going to be alright. Now let's go ahead and sand this, and then we'll take it off. Do just a bit of sanding up to maybe 360 grit. Then we're going to use some abrasive paste to get it up to about 800 equivalent. So the sphere I'm going to use for this is about 50 millimeters
Actually, it might be a little bit more. Let's measure that again. A little over 50 millimeters, or about a little over 2 inches. So I'm going to double that to get a 1:3 ratio, approximately. So I'm going to measure out 4 inches, or about 100 millimeter, and that's going to be the bottom of the end of the finial. Let's go ahead and mark that. Shape it roughly down to a kind of a get what you call it. We're going to taper it down to the point, and we've got a little bit of damage here we got to account for. So let's just start with doing that with a spindle roughing gouge. We want all our features to go smaller as we go from the mount all the way to the point. Okay, I've got to be mindful of that little damage there, so we're going to make a V-cut where that to clear that damage. This is going to be the actual point right here. I want the bottom where it fits against the globe to match the diameter of the finial cap, which I've measured, and it's right at 3/4 of an inch. So let's go ahead and take that down first behind it. It's going to be the tenon. We'll worry about that in a moment. Now let's get down this down to 3/4 of an inch. And I have misplaced my 3/4 inch gouge. It had a sharpened edge, so I'm just going to use this as a gauge or a set of calipers. Getting pretty close. Now let's get this down to 3/4 of an inch. So let's go below with the tenon a little bit. I think we're getting pretty close. Not quite. As we get real small out here, we're going to turn generally from right to left, keeping as much mass as possible. We're going to get this thing with some leverage. We're going to have a hard time turning here, so let me show you a trick we're going to use for that. We'll turn this point down so it's no more than 3/4 of an inch there. Get rid of a little more meat here. I need to decide where I'm going to put some of the features, and I'm going to make a series of beads. So I think I'll go maybe one here, and one here. Switching to a 3/8 inch detail spindle gouge. Grip. And then we're going to use a little abrasive paste. Now we're going to replace this cone center with what Captain Eddie Castellan called a soft touch. I learned about many years ago. And I made one out of nylon. It's got a 3/4 inch or a 1/4 inch hole. Now let's see what the proportions look like. Smaller, larger, larger, not bad. I think it looks good. I think it looks good. And let's sand and polish this before we worry about the tenon. Starting with 240. Being careful not to round over those crisp edges. And a little abrasive paste to get it from 360 up to close to 800. fine tune it. And let's use calipers to measure it. I think that'll do it. Now let's go ahead and part it off. Chamfer that in just a tiny little bit, make it easier to fit into the hole. Put the speed down, about 1,000. Don't grab the finial or you can tear out little fibers. Of course on the end here it won't make any difference, but it's just not a good practice. See, we got the top and the bottom at about the same diameter and about the same shape that we're striving for, and this fits perfectly. Now it's time to assemble, so first thing we've got to do is, I guess you could say, a dry fit. The finial cap is a nice snug fit. The icicle, not quite. So how do we fix that? Well, an easy way, and there's a great tool, is get a plumber's reamer. Don't get a 1/2 inch, get a 5/8, and then you can actually open up that hole easily. This is the fastest and easiest way to kind of do it. And in short order, you'll have this thing fit together. Of course, another technique to get the sand to fit is to get a little sanding strip, a little wood with sandpaper on it, and you can kind of tune the sanding just a little bit to get it smaller. Just get those edges. And let's say you got one that's a little too loose. That's easily fixed. Put on some thin CA and wrap with a number of strands of thread to increase the size of the tenon. Time to glue up. We dry fitted everything. You could use CA glue. My preference is to use just plain old carpenter's glue. I like tight bond. So we're going to start with a finial, and I like to put this on the inside so it'll get pushed down. Sometimes if you're not careful and you get it on too much on the finial, it'll get pushed out, so be careful with that. Let's talk about screw eyes. You know, people use fish hooks. If you got a bunch of fish hooks, that's great, but actually fish hooks cost more than screw eyes. I like to use small ones. If you get them too big, they just look clunky. And you got to drill that hole in advance using that pin vise while it's still on the lathe. Otherwise, you're going to have you're going to snap off that screw eye. Don't ask me how I know. And there's that. Now, an alternative that I prefer for you can also make them out of jewelry wire, but again, they're so inexpensive. Why bother? Here's one made out of jewelry wire. Now, an approach that I prefer actually for mini ornaments is drilling a 1/16 hole in from the side and use this 1/16 inch cord. You can get it in gold and silver here in the U.S. at Hobby Lobby. You can't get it at Michael's, so it might be hard to find, and I find this really thin 1/16 inch cord works real well. Here's a bonus tip. Buy some ornament stands. They're fast and they're not worth, in my estimation, they're not worth the time trying to make them because they're so inexpensive. You can get them in large ones, you can get them in small and medium size. You can get them with 3-tier and 4-tier ornament displays. They really kick up the value of a gift when they can display it all day long. They come in gold and silver and black. So check those out. I've got some Amazon links in the show notes if you're interested. Now you got a beautiful hollow globe ornament you can display on your Christmas tree, or you can give away as a cherished gift. If you missed part 1, there'll be a link here. If you're more interested in doing other ornament videos, please click on my ornament video list of more than 50 ornament videos. 50 videos on ornaments. Yeah, I love making ornaments. I appreciate your comments and questions. Please leave them in the comments below.
And remember, y'all come on back. No, that's not what I usually say. Y'all stay safe and come on back, you hear?